Hey guys, we are in mid January, and I can't believe that the month of January has come and is on its way out already in 2025. But I realized I had not started anything in my sewing room yet. And I thought before the month was out, I would go ahead and tackle one of my make fives for the year. So I am going to take you on this journey, at least part one of this journey, in making my first make of the year. And I'm working on Simplicity 8982 View C and View E, and it is described as a knit sweater dress set. So I've already gathered my notions and the supplies I need, though you don't see them on my table, they are there. And I also decided I would go ahead and take some quick body measurements just to make sure that the pattern size I'm using is one that will work for me. Don't judge my measurements right now as I'm taking them. My space is a little bit tight, but because I'm using a knit fabric, I am not too concerned if my measurements are off just a wee bit because the knit will stretch. So after taking my measurements, I realized that I will have to do some grading because the pattern size I have is not quite the proper size. But again, because this is a knit fabric, I don't think I'll need to do a whole lot of grading. So we're going to go ahead and continue with the pattern I've chosen. So there is one more set of measurements I need to take, and that would be for the length of the top, which is view C, if I'm not mistaken. And then I need to take the length measurement for the skirt, which is view E. So as I began to take the measurement for the length of the skirt, I realized that I might just do the longer version skirt because by the time I add the casing and do the hem, I feel like the skirt will be too short for my liking. So I think I may just do the longer version skirt. That way, when I add the casing and the hem, I'll have a decent enough length to my skirt. To avoid clutter on my table, I like to keep my pattern picture or pattern envelope on my clipboard, and then I also put my instructions on the clipboard as well as I work through them. How do you guys keep your pattern envelope and your inspiration photo visible as you're working through your garment make? Comment below. All right, so now that I understand the measurements and what I need to cut in terms of sizing, it's now time to understand these instructions. So I'm just gonna take some time and read through the instructions. I like to staple my instructions together. That way I can keep the pages in order. Sometimes when they're not stapled together, I find myself flipping through the pattern instructions and it just becomes a little bit frustrating for me. So I do like to go ahead and staple my instructions together. time for me to document what I am learning from the instructions. This would include how many pattern pieces, which pattern pieces I need to cut. And later, I also discovered as I worked through the pattern instructions that there are some other notions I need to have on hand that I did not have readily available. And just taking note of just some techniques I may want to brush up on before I get started on this garment make. So you guys already know it's well after school and it is time to get homework done. So I have to take a quick break to help explain long division to my 9-year-old. So now I'm going to get back to understanding these instructions. So, in reading the instructions, I also wanted to understand the pattern layout, and there was this one part that really got me confused. I was trying to understand why the dotted lines were on the pattern layout, and I could not figure it out. So, I went back and forth, and I realized that the dotted lines only were there to remind me that that would be the cut line for the shorter length of the skirt. I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out because the instruction was like literally right above the diagram, right above the illustration. But yeah. So once I figured out what that illustration meant, the rest of the directions in reading them, they were very straightforward. So we'll see how straightforward it is when it's time to actually get this garment sewn. So I was going to save this for the next time I came to my room, like another day. But I figured since it was still not too late into the evening, I would go ahead and just get started with cutting out my pattern pieces. So there are 8 pattern pieces total. And the thought of having to cut out 8 pattern pieces this evening was a little bit overwhelming to think about it, but I figured, things are quiet tonight. Let me just go ahead and keep this process moving along. So I went ahead and just continued my work. So I am done cutting all of my pieces. Hooray, hooray. And I noticed that all of the pieces I needed for the first view on here, which I think is view A, are still intact on one piece of tissue. So that rarely happens where everything I need for another view is on one piece of tissue. So I'm really happy that I can just fold this up and just put it away neatly, and I can easily pull it out for another view should I decide to do the view A later. Before I put this piece away, I just want to make sure there's nothing on here that I need for the instructions to get this garment finished. And it looks to be nothing more than just some information on measurements. So now that my pieces are cut, I just thought I'd do a quasi, literally a quasi tissue fitting, just to see if what I think in terms of my grading will work for making the skirt and the top for this particular pattern. I think I have to grade out a little bit more than what I initially thought, but I'm okay with that. I am going to keep moving forward on this project. I don't want to get in a space where I get stuck on analyzing the process. I want to just really go with the flow. If things don't work out properly, it's okay. I'm learning as I am doing this, because I sometimes have a tendency to overanalyze, and sometimes when I do that, I just get kind of stuck. So I'm not getting stuck in 2025. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Lesson learned, move forward. I know I'll need to grade this skirt out, so I'm just trying to see which areas should I grade it on based on the layout. So here I go again. I thought the last thing for the night would be cutting out my pattern pieces, and I decided I would go ahead and get my pattern pieces ironed out as well. Again, just thinking about the whole prep process, I was just gonna take this in little chunks, literally like little chunks, and I just decided, let me just go ahead and get everything done so that the next time I come to my room, I will just be in the phase of construction. So it's funny how, the thought of doing these things can sometimes delay us trying to get it done because we just procrastinate on it. But then, at least for me, once I get into the groove of doing the thing, like cutting the pattern pieces and ironing the pattern pieces, it starts to become very therapeutic. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about the cutting process and the whole prep process over the actual construction of your garment? Let's talk about it below. Sometimes we have to actually pull the pattern piece apart just a little bit to get those little wrinkles that tend to set in the pattern piece that it's hard to iron over. I actually love this iron. It's a Rowenta iron that I got from Walmart a couple of months ago. It's like one of the absolute best irons I've had. All right, so why not just go ahead and get the machine threaded as well, right? So, what's that, right? A couple minutes to get the machine threaded. I went ahead and did that, and I'm actually using the Sulky, I think it's Sulky brand of thread I got from Joanne Fabrics, the one near me that's closing down. I actually love the way this thread feels. It really feels really smooth and silky. I did have a bit of a time trying to get it threaded in my needle, but overall, I love how it feels. I'm just hoping that when I test it on my fabric, that it tests really well. All right, guys, I am going to call it quits. I am happy with the progress I made tonight. I am ready to get my construction going, maybe tomorrow or another day this week. But I can hear my family in another part of the home laughing, having a good old time. So I want to go ahead and spend time with them before it gets too late. Thanks for hanging out. Good night.